Get a little test etch in here. Make sure both sides are somewhat the same anyway. You can see some of those spirals starting to show up on this side instead of just the straight lines. Same on this side. And as I grind into the bevels, or grind the bevels in too, it's going to help quite a little. But it looks to me like I can go ahead and do a little bit more on both sides, maybe thin it down just a little bit, because I think I'm right at about 200 thousandths, so I need to come down about another 15 to 20 thousandths, somewhere in there, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Scribe all the way around on one side. We'll flip the knife over and we'll do scribe again on this side. And now should be able to see that. Yep, that scribe line right there. All right, so I'm going to call that good for the 36 grit. See both sides there pretty even. As of right now, it's starting to look pretty good. I can't complain too much. I think I'll bump it up another couple grits just to get rid of those deep scratches. Carbon steel heat treat. Start. The heat treat oven is up to temperature. We're going to get this in there. Get this as centered and as straight as I can. So I have the flats all cleaned off and up to 400 grit on the surface grinder. So right now The blade is 170 thousandths, which is right about where I want it. So here's one side done to 120 grit. Coming out pretty good. Now it's on to the next side. We will mark the center. Right there is where we're going to put the slot. See if we can press fit this down on there. Might be a little tight yet. Might have to do a little more fine line. A lot of times this takes a couple or 3 times to get this done. Here it is, getting the light here. There is a little bit of a gap right on the bottom side and the top side right there. There's ways to get rid of that. Here is the spacer all milled. The slot's all milled out. Let's see how she fits. All right, we're pretty close. You know, we don't have too far to go. I think the spacer is looking good. It's where it needs to be. Okay, so the block is all cut out. What we need to do now is mark on the front side here of the handle where the tang is going to go in, so we know where to drill our holes. All right, so right there is where we're going to drill our holes. Okay, the second hole is drilled. This is what I've got so far. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of grease. It doesn't take very much. And we're just going to put a little bit all over the tang of the knife. I use JB Weld. I've used it a lot, and I have never had any problems with it whatsoever. It's always worked well. All right, I'm going to have my assistant come over here. This, hold it straight up just like that. It's about 85 degrees today, so it sets up pretty fast when it's that warm. There, we got her filled up. All right, so we're going to take that. We're just going to set that down in there, just like that. I believe it's set up. Seems to be pretty good. Hopefully we can get it out of there. We'll get a hold of that. There. Oh, it came out easier than I thought it was going to. So there, the tang is bedded. We'll put that back in there just so it Sets up the rest of the way. But that came out easier than I thought it was going to. So here it is with the spacer ground to the shape of the handle. I've got it up to 400 grit. My microphone quit me, so had to do a voiceover. Anyway, here it is, almost ready for hand sanding. So basically we're ready to profile the guard and get it bent around to where it needs to be. This is what I've come up with so far. I think this it's just going to be a simple guard. And I'll do one side and then I will trace it on a piece of paper and then cut it out and flip it over and put it on this side so I get them exactly the same on both sides. This was just a rough drawing of how I wanted to do it. Here is the guard. I think I've got it pretty even. Looks like maybe I could take a little off right there. Easier than I thought it was going to. Here it is. Oh, that looks nice. I think that's going to be just kind of what I was looking for. Okay, so here is the spacer all buffed, ready to go. Same with the guard. It is all hand sanded and buffed and ready. Here you can see where we ran those tipper colors up into the ricotta right here. So that way it doesn't want to break right there if you know if it's hard, and also we'll be able to drill the pinhole. So that's what we're going to do now. We'll reassemble it for the last time before we etch the Damascus. Assemble it and then drill the pinhole, and then it will be time to etch. All right, so it is now time to etch the blade. I just got done washing it off. I'm going to stick it in ferric chloride. It's not quite enough. I'm going to have to add a little. Make sure I get it up and over the ricotta. My jar's just about not big enough. At 1500 grit, and this will reveal the pattern a lot better. So here it is after the final etch. You can really see that pattern darkened up. I missed a little bit. So I've got some WD-40 put on it. Here it is, hand sanded to 800 grit and buffed and ready to put on the knife. So here we are ready for final assembly. Next on the list is put the guard on. I will take that over to the vise and knock that on, and then the spacer, and then we'll glue the handle. And here we go. Here is final glue up. I'm sure that's more than enough. I think I'm good to go. See an air bubble down in there somewhere. Because it don't want to go. Okay, I think that's in there. See if we can get the pin in. There. We are seated right where we need to be. Okay, so the glue, the epoxy has set up, and I've got the pins cut off. Now I'm just hand sanding those back smooth. I ground them down pretty close, and then I took a file and finished them off. So we kind of scuffed up a little bit around where the pin is. So I'm just going back to 400 grit on both sides, and then work my way back up to 800 and go back over and buff it. All right, take that over to the buffer, shine that back up, and then we will get some glamour shots.